I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit vpn.fm to discover more.
There's a cat over here. There's a cat over there. And the wrong one died. And the wrong one died.
Welcome to The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. I'm your host, Mike Abrams, and today we have a family of guests. I have had on a couple of married couples who have done Cats before, met on Cats, but today we're going to go one step further. On the U.S. National Tour 4 of Cats, Helen Frank at the time was performing as Demeter in Bombalurina and met Steve Watkins, who was in the Cat Scorers and was covering Busterford, Jones, Gus, Growl Tiger, and Old Deuteronomy, where they met and married on tour. Fast forward to 2014, and their daughter, Lauren, who was 17 at the time, performed with Steve in the Casa Mañana Theatre regional production of Cats, and has also done Cats in other places in Vermont and regionally as well. And they performed as Syllabub and Gus, getting to do it together as a family. So I think this is the first full family of Cats I've had on. I'm excited to have all three of you here today. So welcome to the Watkins family. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having us. This is very, very exciting and fun for us.
I've like I said, I've had some couples that have met on tour, and I'm always start going like, all right, is it Tugger, Bombalurina? Like who are the characters? Because I'm like, is it the personalities that met that was there? But this is the first time I heard after that. It's like, oh, they met on tour. And then also father-daughter got to do it later. So that is such a unique and cool kind of piece to have a whole family having deep roots into the Cats world. But I always going to start at the beginning, because to me, I was kind of blown away in 2016 when I saw Cats the first time. And the US Tour 4, you really are around the 98 movie, like predate that 1998 movie. So when was your introduction to the show? When's the first time you saw it? And then Lauren, when was the first time you saw it? Was it a production with your parents? Like, how did you get introduced to the show?
Well, I guess I'll start. I first saw the show when it opened in 1982, and a good friend of mine from college was in the show. We actually started in the business together. We were very lucky. We started with the bus and truck company of a chorus line right out of college, and then so we were on the road with that. And then when we left that show, then she ended up getting Cats in 1982, and she was an understudy. She understudied Demeter and Syllabub, and a couple of other Cats. So I went to see her in the show as Demeter, and that was the first time I saw it.
Wow! And what was your reaction that first time?
Well, I didn't even recognize her. I kept looking. I wasn't familiar with the show, and so I couldn't recognize her with all of that makeup. And then I finally figured it out when her solo lines started. And honestly, it didn't make a lot of sense to me, and I didn't really like the show that much, but I liked the visuals of it, and I loved the dancing, and I loved how challenging it was vocally and dance-wise, because it's very, very difficult show vocally, and the dancing is very difficult. And so that's why I wanted to be in it, because having done a chorus line, that was really the first of its kind with that, where you really had to be a triple threat. And then, but I feel like Cats stepped it up because the music was very challenging.
Yeah. I've talked to hundreds of people, and it's still confusing.
Yeah.
Everyone who's done it, it's still confusing. Steve, what about you? When was your first introduction to the show?
I believe it was summer of '83. It was the first Broadway show I'd ever seen in New York. I had traveled up. I was working at a theater in Raleigh, run by Deanne Jones, called, at the time, it was Carolina Regional Theater, and it's now the North Carolina Theater. And Deanne and I, she was mounting a production of A Midsummer Night's Dream, and she was going to New York to pick up fabric up there in the garment district. And one of her, she calls them sons. I'm one of her sons as well. But one of her sons is Terry Mann, who I think you've interviewed on this channel previously. And Terry was doing Cats, and I'd never seen a Broadway show, so he got us house seats, and my jaw dropped. I was astounded by the not only the music and choreography, but the theatricality, plus the audience interaction with the entire theater. The entire Winter Garden was turned into a huge junkyard where we were invasive species in the cat's world. And got to meet Terry and went out and had a late bite to eat with him after the production. And of course, he was just a rock star and incredible in the production. And from that moment on, I said, boy, I would sure love to do that. I can't see me dancing in the show, but sure would love to do it. And then I found out there was actually a couple of non-dancing singing roles that I would be right for. So I started auditioning for it.
I love it. You weren't ready to do the crouch thrusting tugger dance moves and be out in the audience and really get after it type of thing. You're like, I like the show, but I'm ready to be more of the Gus Bustifer Old Deuteronomy version.
Exactly. Even though it was 25 or 26 at the time.
I love it. I love it. And so Lauren, you're in a little different, era. You get to probably grow up with it, knowing that your parents found the show. Were you obsessed with the 98 movie, or is it, when was the first time you saw it live?
I think the first time I saw it live was when it came to Atlanta on a tour, maybe when I was 13. I'm not too sure, but like you said, it's kind of always been around me. And, I do remember watching the movie as a kid and also watching YouTube videos of the show and listening to the cast recordings. And yeah.
Were you prepped going in for what you were about to see, having, deep roots of it with your parents being able to kind of give you the heads up? Or are you like the three of us out here who went the first time literally not sure what we're going to see and had to kind of go in blind?
I knew that it was amazing dancing and music and a spectacle, but I didn't really know the extent of the story behind it until I did the show myself.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I want to fast forward to those moments now. So now, US Tour 4, you get cast into the show. And you've seen it. You're familiar with at least kind of the idea. You've got to learn the dance number. But what was your first kind of reaction of the rehearsal process of understanding, wow, this is a much deeper plot than you probably caught seeing it on stage?
That's a good question. I think so. I was the first female replacement in that fourth national. And I didn't have that advantage of having that long rehearsal process. So I had 2 weeks to learn the show. So if I had gone in as an understudy, I probably would have had more time. But I was a replacement for someone who was injured. So I had 2 weeks. And so it was mostly about the choreography, a brief overview of the character of Demeter. Mm-hmm. And the relationship with Bomb. And then, so I felt like the character then and the story all then came together after, but there was a big push to get me right into the show in 2 weeks.
Yeah, interesting. So I feel like every time I've heard someone who's had that scenario, it's always like, just don't get somebody hurt. Get in the right place at the right time, do the dance, and then we'll figure out all the nuances of the relationships as you go. But that first part is just don't get anybody hurt.
Exactly. Exactly. Because there are a lot of traffic patterns that are critical to be in the right place at the right time. Mm-hmm. And, that was always, it was more like a stop, look, and listen and make sure you don't run into somebody.
Yeah.
And just get through the numbers.
And Steve, what about you? Was your introduction a little bit different? How much more of the process did you get? And also having to cover multiple characters, you have to be able to have the knowledge of a little bit of the backstory of each, especially Old Deuteronomy, who's, our decision maker here of the most important choice.
Absolutely. The first role that I learned was Gus. And as Helen indicated, I was dressed in brown, put in the back row during the dance numbers and told please don't break any of the dancers while you're out there. And that I did a pretty good job of that, I think.
You did, yeah.
I broke 0 dancers during my time on stage. Thank goodness. The choreography, just learning the choreography was completely overwhelming. But so that took about 4 weeks. But in that process, the dance captain, the assistant dance captain, kept reiterating backstory, interactions, relationships between the cats, and we did a lot of improv during the rehearsal sessions with all the understudies. So it was very beneficial. It was about a 6-week period before I ever got on stage, but we did a lot of rehearsals and run-throughs of the show during that period of time, and it was a wonderful inundation of the overall story, and part of it was developing your own interactions with and your own ideas of interactions with the cats, because every time we went on stage, it would usually, for me as an understudy, it would be with a different cast generally. Sometimes with a different Jelly Lorem as my partner with the Gus Growl Tiger sequence. And it was just a wonderful acting experience to create the show every night with someone. And she was put to the test every time too, whoever that was.
Yeah.
I think the first was Alice Lynn, but they were very generous and welcoming, a very welcoming tribe for newbies.
So when did you two start dating on tour? Was it on tour? Because you met on tour.
It was, yes. I met Helen the first week I got there, and that was March of 1989, backstage the Heinz Theater in Pittsburgh. You familiar with that?
I kind of assumed Heinz when you said Heinz, it's got to be Pittsburgh, just because they've named everything in that city. But no, I'm not familiar with the theater.
Exactly. And we just, over the next 6-8 months, we became friends and asked her, to go grab a beer after the show or something. And then things started to develop.
Okay. So what I find is fascinating on this is because there's been, of the couples that I've heard of them come from this, there's been a lot of Tugger Mustopheles, there's been a lot of Tugger Bombalurina. Feels like Tugger's in all these. There's been a lot of Tugger teasers, Rumble teasers, but the Gus or even Old Deuteronomy and a Bombalurina aren't necessarily a love interest you get on stage. So how did, as you started to, formulate your relationship, did you notice that your stage dynamics changed? And did other people start to notice of there seems to be a little bit more going on here between this Gus and Bombalurina than any other Gus and Bombalurina we've ever seen?
Well, that's interesting because our characters didn't really have that. We weren't that in close proximity to each other very much on stage.
As much as I tried.
Yeah. But, maybe, as Bustifer, it was, adulation. Oh, he's so fun. We love him. He's so sweet. And then as Dude, very, to just really love him. And so, but as far as Bomb's relationship with his characters were not the same as Bomb and Tugger, for example, or McHattie.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
As much as I tried, Mike.
You're on stage kind of over there trying to figure out how to, tell your story as Gus, looking a little bit further one way to the other.
Exactly.
Okay. I every time I ask this, I'm like, you're all professionals. Like, of course you're not going to let that get in the way. You're going to go do your job. But I'm also like, these two characters shouldn't be together at all. Like, this doesn't fit. And then knowing you are off stage, and there's been a couple like that, it's always kind of a fun, like, I look at everything from the lens of the characters and the stories, and I'm like, these don't fit. Even Bustifer makes it really fun too. Like, you're in the Bustifer costume. I'm like, I don't think that there's, like, I'm not sure how Bombalurina thinks about him at all.
It was a love story that was never meant to be.
You could have added it. This was the chance.
That's true. Could have changed the dynamic.
So I want to fast forward to doing it in Texas. So how did you decide and come up? I know it was a Richard Stafford production, and I know that y'all worked with him. So was it just that you saw it and was like, we could audition to this together? Like, was there a conscious effort that this might be something you're able to do together?
I actually saw the post on Playbill on the website, and I saw that it was Richard and at Casa Mañana, and I brought it to Steve's attention. And do you want to take?
And it turns out that the executive producer at Casa Mañana is Wally Jones, who is Deanne Jones' son, real son, not a fake son like me.
Yeah.
He's her real son, and he worked at North Carolina Theatre for many years, and then he went down and took over the theater at Casa Mañana in Fort Worth. And so I contacted Wally and said, what would you think about our daughter auditioning for that production? Because she was, Lauren, correct me if I'm wrong, senior in high school?
Yes.
And he said, well, one of you would need to be with her because she's basically a minor. I think she was 16 at the time, but 16 or so, maybe she was 17. So Helen and I drew straws, and I got the short one. And so I went down with Lauren. She and I flew down in December to audition into the first ice storm in North Texas in quite a while, I guess. And they cast me, which was a huge surprise. We figured they would cast Lauren, but I think I auditioned for Old Deuteronomy as well as for Gus, and they said we would prefer you. We have another guy who's tremendous local gentleman, and he did a excellent job with Dude, and so I got to do Gus and Bustifer and Grail Tiger.
Okay, I have to backtrack just a little bit.
There's a little side story in here if you want to hear that.
So yeah, we also contacted Richard. He's a very sweet man, and we said, maybe, what do you think about one of us being in the show? And so he said, and so Richard said, my husband is so sweet. He didn't want to embarrass me, but I think it's hysterical. And so Richard said, Helen.
We had proposed to Richard that Helen and Lauren come down and do the show together.
He said, Helen, in the most loving way possible, I'm afraid that your ship has sailed.
No.
And I said, Richard, actually, you're right. I don't know how I would have done the show. It probably would have killed me. And so I just thought it was hysterical. But, of course, Steve and Laura were like, Mom, you so totally could have done the show. But, it was fine. I was not, mad or, it was totally fine. And I was super happy that Steve got to do it with Lauren.
Yeah. It's funny to hear you say that, though, because there's been a couple conversations. I know a couple other podcasts do this as like a game where they talk about what shows would you want to do a career of. And Cats is usually a good answer because you definitely could start as a Tumble Brutus and a kitten and then do one of, the dance numbers. And it's there. So it's like, was Grisabella just not on the table for you? Like, is that not, that's only 15 minutes on stage.
No, that is not a song that I could do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
So then it's Gus. We're going to bring on Gus, and then you got that was the short end of the stick there to be the parental guidance there. This is basically all because you knew Lauren was going to be ready to go, and she needs to be in the show as Syllabub.
And I had major doubts about my capabilities after 25 years. It was honestly the first time I had auditioned in a quarter century. And I was so nervous. I was pacing the floor like a 10-year-old. And Lauren was cool, calm, and collected. She gets waved through to the dance call. And, were
you a package deal? Lauren, were you going to do it by yourself if they didn't get cast? If you're just like, nah, it's good. Like, you can hang out in the hotel. I'll still go do this.
I truly felt like it would be him getting cast and I would not get cast. So a package deal, I'm not really sure. I mean, I was just thinking, well, he could do Gus and we could go and watch him. But yeah.
So, Lauren, I want to hear from you a little bit about what your experiences was learning the plot of the show as a 17-year-old. And, Syllabub is a very kitten, youthful character, but you're also then learning this whole underlying story that is a little dark and probably not clear in the 1998 movie that you're watching, that you're growing up, and not quite in the dances. So did you have any aha moments where you're just like, oh, wow, I did not realize that, especially knowing some of the characters that your parents played?
Yeah. Before I went to Texas to learn the show, and I did end up going out about a week early to do kiddie school and to start learning the show. They had the people who had never done the show before come out a little earlier so we could have more time to do kiddie school and to start learning the choreography and everything. But even before that, my parents talked to me about the story and some of the relationships with the cats. And one of a theory that was mentioned by my mom is the collar that Syllabub wears is very similar to Bombalurina's collar, and the relationship between them, it can be developed and interpreted in a few different ways.
I'm curious to hear from you all about the first time you go on stages together. Like, what is that kind of family moment? Like, did everyone come? Like, who was in the audience, and what was that experience like the first time you get to kind of perform together?
I could barely keep it together. It was, it was very, it was just a very moving moment for me, just to see how far she had come in 17 years, because she'd started dance, I believe, when she was 3.
3 or 4, probably. Lauren, were you about 3 or were you 4?
I think I was 4. I don't know.
Yeah,
it was hard to remember, huh?
I think it was 4 because I didn't want to start you too young. I thought 4 was a good time. I thought you started them at 3 and then they're sick of it by the time they're 6.
Yeah.
She was, inundated in dance class and vocal lessons, and she worked with some very good teachers in middle school and high school, as well as choreographers who put her on stage in sometimes challenging and leading roles. And so to see her in a professional production in 3/4 round stage at a very prestigious regional theater was, and being able to see it up close and personal was just an incredible moment.
Yeah. It's also got a little, like, it feels like Gus, right? Like your story is reminiscing on stage in its own sense. So you're kind of getting to live that in a real, like, true sense. Like that's got to be kind of almost a little strange. Like, it's usually, you're out there performing, but this is kind of does fit almost a lot more within the story of the character.
Absolutely. I tell everybody I really live Gus now. I'm in telecommunications and I umpire baseball. But back in the day, if you give me a toothful of gin, I'll tell you some stories here.
I love it. I love it. I was gonna say, you just don't embody too much of Bustifer. You got to keep that at bay.
Hey, Pompous. Yes.
Yeah. And Lauren, for you, what was like being, on stage with your dad? What was that like?
It was so surreal and magical. I had not seen my parents perform in a musical before. And growing up, my dad and I would sing at church and at home sometimes, but I'd never seen him perform in the show. So getting to be on stage together was amazing. And at the end of the show, when the cats, after the bows, with the cats sort of dance off stage, I think this was for the very closing show, but I remember what it looked like vividly. But we were dancing together, and then he picked me up and twirled me, and then he carried me off stage, and that's one of my favorite memories from that show. And it was such a nice sort of cap, a sort of bow on the whole project.
Yeah. What have got to be a memorable moment. It's such a cool family thing, and something you probably just don't even expect. And there's not a lot of shows or situations that even allow you that opportunity, and you get that here. And then before we go to some rapid fire and have some fun with like some of the plot and characters, I want to hear a little bit. I know getting to do Bombalurina later, how much did you get to go and did you pick your mom's brain of like, all right, you did this for years. Like, what do I need to know? How much did you add and get to kind of to embody, your version of Bombalurina?
I feel like I completely lucked out because she had developed the character so much. She did it for 9 years. And so she had so many little moments and so much backstory and relationships with the characters. And there are so many, the show is huge and there are so many characters and so many opportunities to interact and just develop the story more. And it was so helpful the way she would explain to me how Bombalurina felt towards the different cats. And of course, as the show develops, in the rehearsal process and even throughout the show, I could have my own ideas with the cats, but it was so helpful what she told me beforehand.
Yeah, it's got to be like most people don't go in with being able to kind of have, like I've kind of joked that my podcast can maybe give some people a little bit of hearing from it, but you're only getting like 30, 45 minutes. And here you can go to your parent and get the full, I did this for years rundown, which is again, so unique and got to be, again, a family. You're a family of cats, whether you realize or not. It's a huge part of your life and a piece that you got to all kind of do as a core memory together, which is again, really unique. You just don't get that in many things. We're going to take a quick break and then we'll be back for more of The Wrong Cat Died. Okay. I want to do some rapid fire, which won't be that rapid because we have 3 people, but my standard questions. If you could go on, we're going to take the ship's not sailed. If you can go on for any cat, whether it's male, female, age, height, you can sing it, you can dance it. If you could go on for one night as any cat, who would you each want to perform as?
Who wants to go first?
You.
I would want to be Tugger.
Tugger. I love it.
Yes. I just think that that's just a wild, that would be just really fun to let loose like that.
Okay. Follow-up Tugger question. Would you go, when you go out into the crowd and you're going to like harass some person in the audience, are you looking for someone who's ready to play along, or are you looking for someone who's like, oh, don't pick me? Like, who do you want?
I would probably go with somebody who's ready to play along.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't want to embarrass somebody like that, I think. Yeah.
That's Tugger wouldn't care.
Yeah, no. But Helen would.
Yeah. Okay. Who wants to go next?
If I got to choose one, I think McCavity is just a fun role. Plato McCavity. It's integral in the show, and he appears a number of times, obviously. But he's just the kind of outcast bad boy hellraiser that comes in and just blows up the set, basically.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a fun role to do.
Lauren, what about you?
I would love to do Skimbleshanks. I love the number. I love the music, his cute little vest, his orange unitard, and the train and everything about it. I love Skimbleshanks.
Those are great answers. I was waiting for you to say Mungus Trap, but I was like, did you all just pick the 3 brothers? Like, the family picked the 3 brothers was going to be too on the nose if you did that. Okay, who are your favorite and least favorite cats? So I want to hear both. I got to hear, who do you love and who bugs the daylights out of you?
Wow. Who wants to go first?
Lauren, you start them off.
I feel like I'm biased, but I can't help it. I love Bombalurina and Gus. And of course, I love my parents, of course. And maybe it's, I don't know, but just the two, maybe it's because I know so much about both of those characters because I've heard about them so much. But those are my favorites, Bombalurina and Gus. But
I'm not letting you off the hook for least favorite. You gotta
my
answer
least favorite is, sorry, is Jelly Lorem because the part of the song where she like during the Gus song where she like scratches him, that always makes me it gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't like it. I can't watch.
That is a cat that is very rarely mentioned on the dislike side. So I love a new answer. I think that's great. More power to adding some fuel to the fire here.
I would have to go with my favorite cat is Grisabella.
Oh no.
Which is, I know.
Could be good for my last question.
I know, but I such empathy for that broken, frail castaway. I always kind of, and also coming at it from a Gus or a Old Deuteronomy vantage, a particular empathy for Grisabella.
All right, least favorite.
Oh gosh, tough to say. Cassandra.
Okay.
I don't know. I just not a big fan of the Siamese. Plus, she's such a beautiful dancer, so I got a lot of. It's not random. Come on. She has such beautiful lines. I used to just look at her, and when she comes out for her bow, at one point she would just kick her leg straight up in the air and hold it. And I'd go, wow, that hurts. And I'm very jealous. And you can't do both legs in the air at the same time. What's wrong?
I love it. So for me, that her Siamese parts, it doesn't exist in the versions I've seen. So it got cut for sure in the revival. So but Cassandra's still in there. It's just that particular section isn't anymore. But I think that's good. And I love the randomness. My answer doesn't even exist in your show either. My answer was Peter, who is Gus's just ensemble dancer from the 2016 revival, just because I don't like that it was named Peter. It's just weird. Just like no need to name like the most basic generic male name. Sorry to all my Peter listeners out there. But like it's just it's not a cat's name. It's like you got Mistopheles and Rum Tum Tugger and McCavity and then Peter.
John.
Yeah. All right, Helen, what do you got?
Okay, I think my favorite character. Well, of course, I love Bomb, and that was the when I saw the show, that was the role that I wanted. Mm-hmm. And so, but I would say if I'm not picking Bomb, I would Gus Growl Tiger is my favorite character. I just
love it.
Yeah. I love the story and the energy and that whole arc of his character.
Love it.
And as far as my least favorite, I can't even think of a least favorite cat.
You've got to have one. They're all family, but you still have that one family member who drives you nuts, right? Like that's why I look at this.
Yeah.
Corcopath.
Just name somebody.
Random one.
I mean, I was going to say Grizz maybe, but I don't know if that's quite right. But gosh, least favorite cat. I honestly can't think of a least favorite cat.
I'll accept your Grizz vote because that's better for my question at the end.
Okay.
We still got two more before we get there. Favorite song from the show?
For me, definitely McCavity. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I agree.
As gorgeous as memory is, I have always thought that the addressing of cats that Deuteronomy sings off the tire is the perfect recap of the last 2 hours.
Yeah. That's a great one. Lauren, what about you?
I love the overture. I love, it builds, it's so exciting, and it's a great song to run to if you ever need to light a fire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, definitely the overture.
Love it.
If I could run, I would definitely play that.
As I say, sitting here as someone who's slowly running and training for a half marathon, I'm like, all right, I had not put the overture in my mostly hip hop playlist to keep my energy up, but now I'm like, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. It was that, and Skimbleshanks was the other one I kind of had thought about because it just had the high pace of Skimbleshanks. Okay, my fun one before we get to the important question. Steve, as an umpire, as a baseball umpire, which cat do you think would be the best baseball umpire?
Muckastrap, no doubt. He's very calm, cool, collected, poised, unless one of the players is Rum Tum Tugger, and he loses it a little bit with that particular coach or player. But I have to go with Monk on that.
I agree. I think that's the right answer. As I thought about this, when you emailed, I was like, I always throw one fun one in. I'm like, what's the fun one to put a cat in a different scenario? I was like, all right, who's going to be this? And yeah, I think that's where my head went to immediately. But then I started thinking, all right, who would they all be rooting for? Who would be the best general manager? Who's actually going to hit? Like I had Busterford Jones as my designated hitter. Like he's not running, but he's going to hit.
Oh, he doesn't have to run if he puts it over the fence.
Yeah, leading off is Mustopheles probably. Yep. He's going to be fast and speedy. I spent way too much time thinking about this, so we probably don't need to go any further. I have 3 games tomorrow morning that I'm umpiring, and I'm going to put on the monk makeup. Put on the monk makeup. That will, that I would love to see the parents' reaction or the fans' reaction if you came in Muckastrap's makeup and then put on that would, they would not understand. Let's just leave it there. Okay. $1 million question. My whole podcast centers around, I've argued at length that I don't think Grisabella is the right Jellicle choice. So I want to hear from all 3 of you. I want to hear if you are making the decision, who are you picking and why? And let's give some defense and have a little healthy debate. But we also have an old Deuteronomy. So I also have some questions about the decision-making process, depending on who you pick. If y'all don't pick Grisabella, we're just going to move on and I'm going to be happy and hang up on y'all. But who wants to go first?
Well, I'll go first because I picked Grisabella.
You're picking Grisabella?
Absolutely. I've always
Your
thought
least favorite cat?
Yeah. I always thought that she should be the one to go. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I felt that she had seen it all. She was tired. And she was ready to start again and with one of her other lives.
Gus isn't tired?
Yeah, but no, because I feel like yes, he's tired, but he still is enjoying living in the past.
Okay.
And I didn't feel like Grizz was still enjoying it, was that she was done.
Okay.
And if she comes back as a different Jellicle life, maybe Helen will like her then.
Yeah. All right. I got 1 Grizz vote. I'm still going to try to change your mind here when we finish, but who wants to go next?
Lauren, mix it up.
Well, I was going to say Gus because his body is hurting and it just seems so sad. But after my mom said that he's still enjoying living in the past and enjoying his time in the tribe, that completely changed my...
No, don't let her skew your answer.
No, she's so right though. Oh, so now I think Grizz because if she comes back as a new cat, she was ready to go. And I don't think Gus is ready to go.
All right, I'm gonna hear one more vote here, and then I'm gonna start giving some defense of my theory here.
And I don't want you to think it's a unanimous decision by any means. And Gus is tired, but he still enjoys the corner pub where he can spin some yarns for a shot of hooch. I think the cat who should have gone is Old Deuteronomy.
Great answer.
I feel like he has earned right, and I can't honestly say that the wrong cat died. And did she really die, or did she ascend? But that's another podcast for another day.
Yeah. So let me ask some of my follow-up questions, because I do, and I know I totally understand the redemption arc in the story. Like, I have no qualms with that as the main plot of the musical. I think you tell a great story, you teach a great lesson. Where I have the struggle is, and I think, Steve, to your point is she dying or not? But I'm like, she just sings this beautiful thing about being welcome back to the family and how she wants to be back part of this group, that she's been abandoned. And then it's like, and then let's just kill her. Versus, let's let her go next year. Let's let her have a year with the family, go to some birthday parties, have a good time. Like, why can't she be next year's choice? So that's kind of my first question. But I think my bigger question is, and this is an Old Deuteronomy question, what is the criteria every year? Because is there a redemption story happening next year? Was there a redemption story last year? Is there another exiled cat that's going to come back next year? Like, what is the Jellicle choice each year?
Perhaps. I think it's a matter of mind melding of everyone, kind of like the selection of the Pope, where it has to be unanimous. So everyone except for, I guess, McCavity, selected Grisabella, and Victoria was the first one who was brave enough or stupid enough to reach out and actually touch her. And it swayed everyone else's hearts and minds to join in on that choice.
The Pope thing just got a visual in my head, because I'm thinking, like, when she ascends to the Heaviside layer, you do the big fog machine, and it's literally white smoke. Like, you literally have a white smoke moment of, we've selected our choice.
Yeah.
Okay. For Old Deuteronomy, who's taking over if he is your choice? Who's next year's decider? Is it Monk?
I would say it would be Monk, although Tugger would have probably thrown a wrench into the proceedings, but ultimately acquiesced and enjoyed his friend / brother / nemesis running the show and overseeing that ascension, that selection.
I love it. What would change your mind on the Grisabella votes?
But she wasn't married to Gus.
Yeah. She doesn't want to kill Gus because she's married to Gus. So that's the problem. So
I don't know. I just felt that Grizz is such a frail character. Had she not seemed so pathetic in her song, and, maybe that would have convinced me that maybe she still had some time left. But
so I'll throw you my idea out that I'm actively pushing every regional theater that I talk to try to do. I want an Edwin Drew style finish to this show.
Oh.
I want an audience vote. I want a different person every night. I know they've done it in Chorus Line before. I know it's happened in a Chorus Line production before. I know it's out there. I know that the Real Useful group allows some tinkering with the show now, because there's a Ballroom Cats coming in New York in next year. So it's in the realm of possibility, and I want an audience vote, and I want the cast. I want the cast to be like hardcore positioning for it. I want your entire dance studio to come and vote for Tumble Brutus one night, and then all of a sudden he gets to go up. Like, I think there's a world where you can really have some fun with this.
That is great, and produced and directed by Mike Abrams.
I'm ready. I couldn't tell you the first thing about how to do dancing or where to stage or anything else. I couldn't sing, but the idea, I can stand there and help you figure out exactly who's going to go each night and why. We'll work on the tech. Like, if they could do audience vote in American Idol with people pushing buttons, like everyone, we could pull out our phones real fast and vote.
Oh, please. Absolutely.
Yep. Rig all the chairs with one of those little buttons.
We're ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready for it.
I think that's fun.
So I'm going to make my debut as a director. Not even director. I need help on 99.9% of the rest of the show. But I can help with just telling each character what relationship they should play. And I can help with making the decision at the end of a different choice every night. And I would assume Grisabella is going to win a couple nights because you're going to hear memory. It's going to be, it's still, the story still lands. I changed nothing else except for who gets picked.
Yeah. That would be fun. That's a great idea.
Fun mission.
I'd go see it.
Me too.
Absolutely.
Well, you know more directors than I do. So if you talk to any of them ever, just plant the seed of like, there's this really good idea I heard. And I'm not hard to reach.
Okay.
We know we're going to find you, Mike.
Easy to reach. Well, this has been super fun. Such a cool experience to hear from all of you and all the different, productions of the show you got to do and getting to do it together, which is really cool. How can we stay in touch on social media or if anything else you're doing? This might be a Lauren specific question, but want to make sure that if there's any other things that you're working on, people can find out and stay in touch.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm on Instagram at Lauren_Watkins. Yeah, my parents are on Instagram too, but mostly just for like contact sort of things. But but if you would like to contact them, would you guys like to?
I haven't posted anything yet on Instagram.
You're just watching. Just you watch on Instagram. Okay. Well, we won't link those if there's nothing to see, but Lauren will link yours so that people can find you and stay in touch on any future shows you're doing and other stuff you're doing professionally.
Thank you.
Amazing. This has been so fun. Thank you all for taking the time to hop on and record with me.
Well, thank you. Yes. This was really, really enjoyable.
This has been a blast, Mike. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Thank you all. And thanks everyone else for listening to this episode of The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. To follow along, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any else listens to podcasts. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at The Wrong Cat Died, or check out our website, thewrongcatdied.com.